Hello, Math 005. What section 5.3 is polynomials and polynomial functions. This video will be pretty short. There's only one page of notes here. It's a lot of just vocabulary. So I'll be explaining what a lot of these words mean. These are words that are very important, not just in this class, but as you progress onto your other classes, because these things have an important value, especially as we move through your math courses. Okay, so the first one, terms and polynomials. It says circle the following polynomials. Now I'm going to circle the ones that are polynomials, and then we'll talk about why they are and why the ones that are not. So let's see, this one is a polynomial, this is a polynomial, and lastly, this is a polynomial. So what I'd like you to do is pause your video and look at these and see if you can figure out why these would be polynomials when the other ones are not. Okay, when you look at these, you'll notice that none of these have fractions where we have variables in a denominator. That's a big no-no. So when we see this variable there, the variable there, and the variable there, that causes these to not be polynomials. Now, if this x, say, wasn't here and it was just a negative 40, then that would be considered a polynomial. We do not want variables in a denominator for a polynomial. The reason being is we need exponents to all stay or all be positive integers. Whereas remember from the last section, if we have negative exponents, that means that we could have that variable in the denominator. So that's what we want to think. We want to think positive exponents, meaning no variables in denominators. Okay, so now that we know what polynomials are, we want to talk about what is a term. We've talked about terms before. Terms are parts of a sum. Parts of a sum, meaning it's the things being added together. So we're going to look at this second. We know this is not a polynomial. However, the terms would be the things that are being added together. So 5x cubed is a term. Negative 2x squared is a term. Even this 1 over x would be considered a term. Here, this whole thing, 3a squared b to the fourth, is a term because there's nothing being added or subtracted to it. And we see 2L plus 2W, the 2L is a term, the 2W is also a term, and so forth. All right, so example 2, give an example of a simplified monomial in one variable. So we have a couple key words there. Simplified means that we want to make sure there isn't any terms that can be, any like terms that can be combined. Monomial means that there's only one single term in one variable, means that you can only have one kind of the variable. So a simplified monomial in one variable. Well, here, this 3a squared b to the fourth, that would be a monomial because there's only one term. However, it would not be in one variable because you see a's and b's. But what we could do is just change that a little bit and write it as 3a squared, and that would be a simplified monomial in one variable. You only have one kind of variable. There might be two of those a's, but that's okay. Monomial means one term. Simplified means you can't do anything else to it. The next one, a simplified binomial in one variable, and letter C is a simplified trinomial. What I want you to do is pause your video and see if you can write a simplified binomial in one variable and a simplified trinomial in one variable. Okay, you can see here a simplified binomial. Binomial means two terms, trinomial means three terms. So I took the 3a squared that we had from before and just added an a to it. Again, one variable means you can only have a's or b's or c's or so forth. The next one, simplified trinomial, I use the 5x squared plus x minus 2, which I just took from above here. There's only x's, which makes it one variable. Simplified mean no like terms. So if you had a squared and a squared, you'd be able to combine them. So they have to have different exponents in order for them to be simplified. The next term we're looking at is going to be here is what we call degree of a term. Degree of a term is a polynomial of the number of variable factors in that term. So the number of variable factors. So looking at this one, what is the degree of 3r squared st to the fourth? You see that we have 2 r's, an s, and 4 t's. So you ask yourself, okay, how many variables are there altogether? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the degree of this would be 7 is the degree of that term. It's how many variables altogether are there. The next one, we have a couple of definitions here. we have what we call a leading term, leading coefficient, and the degree of the polynomial. So let's go ahead and read those. The leading term of the polynomial is the term with the highest degree. Leading coefficient is the coefficient of the leading term, and we said the leading term was the term with the highest degree. And the degree of the polynomial is the degree of the leading term. So now we're going to talk about these and see how they're used in example 4. Consider the following polynomial. So we see this polynomial here. The first thing is write it in descending order. That means start with the highest degree and write it in descending, meaning going down from there. The highest degree is going to be this negative 6x to the fourth. That's the highest degree because it has the highest exponent. The next one would be 9x cubed, and then 4x squared, then that 8x, and then lastly, that negative 7. This would be descending order. It starts with the highest exponent and goes down from there. The next thing is identify the leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the coefficient of the leading term. If you need to remind yourself, the leading term is the term with the highest degree. This would be the leading term because it has the highest degree. Therefore, the leading coefficient is the coefficient of that, which would be a negative 6. Identify the term with the lowest degree. Well, you might think that this 8x has the lowest degree, but actually this 7 does. Now, we don't see any degree there because we don't see any exponents, but we could think of that as x to the 0 power. Remember, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1, so we're not changing the value of that at all. So therefore, the term of the lowest degree would be this negative 7. Its degree would be 0, but the term itself is the negative 7. The next thing, degree of the polynomial. The degree of the polynomial is the degree of the leading term. We said that this negative 6x to the fourth is our leading term because it has the highest degree. So therefore, the term or the degree of that is going to be a 4, so that's the degree of the polynomial. That's all we have for this section. Make sure you know those vocab words. Make flashcards if you need to study them. Write them all out, but you want to make sure you practice those. If you have any questions, please reach out and good luck on the homework.